It's been a week since Jamie Carragher disrespected Afcon, and yeah, there's no way we'll let this slide. We're going to talk about it on the channel. Carragher, how you doing, man?
I'm fine. It's it's been a minute.
Carragher made some very disrespectful comments about the Afcon when he was analyzing. He was talking about Salah, and he was making some assumptions that Afcon is not a major tournament, and if Salah would have won it, maybe he would have stand a better chance of winning the Ballon d'Or. Do you agree with Carragher?
Absolutely not. I do not agree with Jamie Carragher. But then again, there are a lot of pundits out there who, because they have the platform to analyze games and matches, they go ahead to say some really disrespectful things out there, and I think Jamie Carragher is one of those persons. I would probably consider what he has said if he was a top professional, like maybe the likes of Carlos Puyol or Sergio Ramos.
But he was a top professional.
No, I'm not really considering him a top professional. I saw the Premier League. I watched the Premier League for a very, very long time, and I knew he was not good enough. He was good.
He's a
to a large extent.
He's a
Liverpool legend. But we saw the likes of Sami Hyypiä and Aga and the rest of them, play regularly ahead of him. He was never a regular in the national team for England. There were so many players out there who ousted him for the national team. He, had basic footballing knowledge, yes, but was he very good? Absolutely not. He was never considered in the team of the season. He was not one of those guys who be like, we can rely on Carragher to help, safeguard our defensive team. Even Virgil van Dijk even came out to say that in the current Liverpool team, he's not going to make the squad, not the bench. He's not good enough to make the squad. But then again, when you see players like that come out to make terrible, disparaging statements about teams and tournaments and certain players out there, you'd wonder, why do you think you can say this sort of thing when as a player you're not good enough? I would think the works of Baggio. Baggio said the reason why he doesn't enjoy being a pundit is because as a player he saw teammates who could not do pretty well with the ball come on television to say terrible things about players who are playing better than them. He doesn't want to be that person. He cannot put players down. For a player like Jamie Carragher to come out and say certain things like that, we cannot sweep under the carpet because for a very long time, the Afcon has been very, very disrespected. And I like the fact that ex-professional top players out there came out and they, of course, they responded very, very well.
In the studio, Mikel has corrected him, and Sturridge as well. Immediately, Sturridge corrected him. I told him Afcon is a top tournament, and he repeated himself. It's facts. It's a top tournament, and Carragher just coughed. He just did this. I think I was pissed off. Yeah, I felt like maybe he had little knowledge of Afcon. Maybe because he doesn't watch, he doesn't pay attention. Maybe he has little knowledge of it. But when he was corrected, he just coughed. There are players talented players who know about the game, and they're correcting you, and you're coughing. I think I was very, very pissed. And I think he's not even ready to maybe apologize or maybe learn about the competition. He made a long Twitter post. I thought maybe that's an apology. He was writing an apology, but he was there defending nonsense. He was. Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw that post, and I did not bother reading it because it is classic, gaslighting. It makes it seem like he knows what he's saying, but he doesn't know what he's saying at all. He doesn't know what he's saying. Last year, the biggest international tournament that was played was the Afcon.
Yeah.
Easily. It was bigger than the Euros, bigger than Copa America. Even the Asian games that we played, I was there last year a couple of days ago. The Afcon was way bigger than it. It had so much traffic. So a lot of people,
over 1.2 billion viewers worldwide.
It was that massive. It was an entertaining tournament, a lot of goals, a lot of entertaining things. The support was massive, and of course, the CAF Federation made a lot of profit from that tournament. It's a really, really good one. But when you come out and say certain things, when you do not even take part, you've never had time to watch it. But of course, you can always talk down on it because you feel like nothing good can come out from a place like that. It shows a classic superiority complex. For me, that's basically what I saw from his reaction, that he's coughed. Because I feel like, nah, you cannot be telling me something like this. So for a player like Carragher, I think all of the backlash he has gotten from top professionals, from the continent and outside, was well deserving of it. And I think he should be put in this place.
Yeah, Mikel blasted him properly as he deserved on his podcast the other day. And Mikel said he knows nothing about the game, and he's not in the place to even talk about African football. And if you look at him, he never won the Premier League. He never won the Premier League. At least if a player should be talking about maybe a legend that would talk about Afcon, that we would even pay attention, should be one that has won things, like I said earlier, that has won things in his career. But Carragher is not the right person to even talk about African football. And Okocha, again, I think last week, Kocha said he wouldn't even want your child to play like Carraghar, and I totally accept. While growing up, when we were watching football, I think I watched Carraghar very well. I watched him at Liverpool. We watched Okocha when he was at Bolton, and for me, I wanted to be like Okocha, not Carragher. And Carragher making such a statement about Afcon, he deserves all the blast. And Diop also, legendary Diop also made a long post and talked about Carragher, and he also talked about Afcon, how big Afcon is in Africa while growing up. And for me, I started watching the country football, the national team football, before paying more attention to club football. And talking down on African football, it's a very, very big disrespect. And Carragher needs to be put in his place. I can't wait to watch his CBS show or the Champions League show to hear what Mikel has to say to him, because I think he needs to apologize. He needs to apologize. This is very, very, very bad. Very bad.
I don't think we are singing for his validation. We do not care about how he feels or what he feels or what he thinks. It is his problem. We do not care about him. He's not a top player like that. Even for his Liverpool team, when one of the worst Liverpool sides era that he played for, even though the fact like they had a player like Steven Gerrard who carried this team on his necks, and other top professionals they had back in the day like the Fernando Torres, them and the Mascherano's and Jesse Dudek and the rest of them, who actually made sure that team won one or two things. Carragher was a passenger.
Yeah.
At best, his ability was a championship level player. At best, that was his ability. The reason why he actually had a long career was because he was a boyhood fan of Liverpool, grew up in the club, came from the ranks at the academy. But there was never a time in the national team in England where they considered Carragher is going to start for the national team. There was never that time. So I think all of these things should just be swept aside. We should not try to seek Carragher's validation. We do not need an apology for him.
Well,
we do not.
Okay, well said. I think we just have to put it out there that AFCON is a major tournament. We're looking forward to the next edition later this year in Morocco, which I feel will be even way bigger than the previous one in Ivory Coast. We saw how the refs use the VAR in AFCON. I think the whole of Europe Champions League, even the World Cup, I've never seen VAR being used properly like in AFCON. And you see, if like maybe you might disrespect AFCON, maybe sometimes the stadiums are not well filled. We know the African problem; it's a general problem that the stadiums are not filled up. And maybe watching it on TV, you might think, maybe the people don't care, but people back here in Africa, AFCON is a big deal. We saw the Nigeria South Africa clash. We saw how big it was. Everyone was talking about it. And the final, Nigeria Ivory Coast. Sturridge himself, he made lots of videos about AFCON, making the predictions. Even made a music video about AFCON. This is an English player out there. He knows a lot about AFCON. And Carragher disrespect. I'm not surprised. He always makes nonsense statements, and whether he apologizes or not, AFCON is a major tournament. So any last words?
You spoke about stadiums not being filled up, and I think this is just down to economic problems.
Yeah, like I said, it's an African problem.
Yeah, not really an African problem. It's an economic problem, and the rulers of these nations do not think it is smart enough for them to actually have interconnecting city trains to watch these tournaments. Like if you're in the UK, you can probably take a train ride to Milan, to Brussels, to anywhere at all in UK and come back for an affordable amount. But for the African continent, we do not have these intercity trains that can enable players to go see these games and come back. And it is sad to note that instead of these nations to come together and try to make sure that we grow ourselves economically, they wait for they rather betray their nations and wait for handouts from people who who they've paid allegiance to. But that is by the way. This is football. We should not talk politics. And I do not want it to seem like we are forcing the AFCON is a major tournament to these people out there. AFCON is a major tournament. We do not need anybody's validation. It is I've been following AFCON since May 2002. Maybe before that, I've been following AFCON, but I was too young. But May 2002 was AFCON. I knew I followed it very, 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 very well. Like I was seeing games. My dad was an ardent football fan. God rest his soul. But then again, I on TV, watching AFCON, analysis from Mike Mayaki, Hamid Adio, these top guys who made me want to enjoy this tournament. Felix Okugbe of blessed memory. They were people who traveled for competition and watched them and made them feel like I was part of these conversations. From Mali 2002, Tunisia 2004, 2006, Ghana 2008. I followed this AFCON. I followed this tournament. I was religiously following this tournament. I started watching AFCON way before I started, regularly watching the Premier League.
Yeah.
That was how much I'm connected to this, this type of football. So for someone out there who cannot relate to what we are going through, who does not know what it means to don a national team jersey and play regularly for the national team, or even go as far as winning this tournament, it doesn't have a say. He's inconsequential at the end of the day.
Okay, guys, you've heard it all. AFCON is a major tournament. We don't care what Carraghar says. We don't care about his validation. So, guys, we'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about Gallagher's statements? Drop that in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like and of course subscribe. Help us reach 10,000 subscribers. So, guys, see you in the next one. Cheers.
Hear me and hear me well.